If you look at the companies spending the absolute most money on artificial intelligence right now, the ones completely overhauling their businesses with AI, they aren't firing people.
No, not at all.
Right. They're actually growing their workforces by 10%. And today, we are going to welcome you into this deep dive where we're looking at a massive new data set. It basically proves why everything we've been told about the AI job apocalypse might be entirely backward.
It is a wild departure from the doom scrolling we've all been doing lately.
Yeah.
I mean, a new analysis by Jonathan Westover just dropped.
Yeah.
And he looked at over 21,000 U.S. firms. And it completely shatters that whole narrative of mass displacement.
Which is so refreshing to see.
Right. We finally have hard empirical numbers about what is actually happening to jobs rather than just, well, theoretical panic.
And when we say massive, I mean, we really mean it. This isn't just a survey of a few dozen tech CEOs giving their optimistic opinions on a conference stage.
Oh, definitely not.
Westover's analysis looks at corporate spending and employment data across 21,559 businesses. This is actual behavioral data.
Yeah, the real deal.
But to understand why those early predictions of mass job losses were so spectacularly wrong, we really have to look at how we were measuring AI's impact in the first place. Early on, researchers were relying on this concept called occupational exposure.
Right, which was, frankly, a deeply flawed way to look at the economy.
Oh, completely.
Researchers would basically take a job description, look at the bullet points of tasks involved, and then look at what generative AI was theoretically capable of doing.
Like, could it write an email or organize a spreadsheet?
Exactly, and then they'd assign an exposure score. They were essentially guessing which jobs could be automated based purely on the technology's potential to perform a specific, isolated task.
Right, which feels incredibly lazy. It's like looking at a city map, counting how many people have a gym within a mile of their house, and then assuming all of those people are bodybuilders.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
It measures proximity and potential, but it completely ignores human behavior. I mean, just because the gym is there doesn't mean anyone is actually going inside and lifting weights.
Yeah, exactly. A company might employ hundreds of workers in quote-unquote highly exposed occupations like copywriting or basic data entry.
Sure.
But that company might never actually purchase, let alone implement, a single AI tool. Meanwhile, another company in the exact same industry might integrate AI into every single department.
But the old data wouldn't show that.
Right. If you only look at exposure, those two companies look identical on a spreadsheet. You are completely blind to what's happening on the ground. But Westover's data changes the methodology.
Because they looked at actual corporate payment records to AI vendors.
Exactly. They just followed the money. They looked for enterprise software subscriptions, cloud computing services tied to AI, and API consumption.
Meaning, like, are these companies actually plugging their internal software directly into AI engines to build custom tools?
Yeah, precisely. This is a concept in economics called revealed preference. When a company opens its wallet and pays for an enterprise AI subscription, it reveals a true commitment.
It shows actual adoption.
Right. So for the first time, we can take a firm that extensively integrates AI, compare it to a firm in the exact same industry that does not, and track what happens to their actual headcount.
And when you start tracking real dollars spent, you see this massive glaring divide between the companies just dipping their toes in and the companies diving in head first.
The spending disparity is just wild.
It really is. The firms categorized as low-intensity adopters, the dabblers, they're spending an average of just $2.78 per employee per month on AI vendors.
Pocket change, basically.
Yeah, but the high-intensity adopters, the top third of companies in the data set, they're dropping around $33.67 per employee per month. That's like more than 12 times as much.
Which creates a very clear intensity gradient. You have casual users and you have strategic adopters.
But I need to stop and challenge this for a second, because it defies basic logic on the surface.
Okay, how so?
Well, the dabblers spending $3 a head see zero statistical change in their employment numbers. But the heavy spenders dropping almost $34 a head see a 10% employment growth.
Right.
Why does throwing more money at an automation tool create more jobs? I mean, if I buy a machine that does the work of 3 people, I shouldn't need to hire 3 more people.
I get that. It seems like a paradox until you realize that AI is not, it's not a magic wand that just works out of the box.
Yeah, you have to actually build around it.
Exactly. To get any real value out of it, a company has to make what economists call complementary investments. If a firm is spending almost $34 a month per employee, they aren't just buying a basic chat interface for people to mess around with.
They're doing heavy lifting.
Yeah, that level of spending means they're fundamentally redesigning processes. They are building serious technical infrastructure to support the AI. They're scrubbing their internal data so the AI can read it, and they're retraining their staff.
It kind of reminds me of the invention of the spreadsheet. Like when Microsoft Excel and Lotus 1-2-3 came out, people thought accountants were doomed.
Oh, yeah, the panic was real.
Because the software could do the math of 50 accountants in 3 seconds. But instead of destroying the profession, it just made calculation instantaneous.
Which changed what an accountant actually did.
Right. That meant accountants could suddenly do complex financial forecasting and scenario planning for their clients. The tool didn't replace them. It shifted their job from human calculator to business strategist.
And demand for accountants absolutely exploded.
Yeah. You had to hire more of them because the service they provided became so much more valuable.
That is the exact mechanism at play here. And we see it in the source material with Jasper AI.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah, they are literally an AI content generation company. But when they rolled out their own AI tools to their internal marketing teams, just giving the staff access did almost nothing.
Wait, really? Their own tool?
Yeah. They saw inconsistent results, low adoption, and no real productivity bump at first.
Because giving someone a tool doesn't automatically teach them how to build a house.
Precisely. It was only when Jasper invested heavily in workflow redesign that things changed. They had to set up new quality review processes.
Like checking for hallucinations.
Right, and they had to establish brand voice consistency control so the AI didn't sound like a generic robot. The AI required an entirely new human infrastructure around it to function properly.
Yeah. And then there's Stripe, right? The financial infrastructure giant.
Yeah, they are a classic high-intensity adopter in this data set.
They integrated AI deeply into their fraud detection, their product development, and their customer support. And the fear is always that an AI writing code means you fire your engineers.
Which didn't happen.
Right. Stripe maintained robust engineering hiring because they didn't just hand engineers a chatbot. They integrated AI directly into their code review and testing processes.
So it became part of the ecosystem.
Exactly. So instead of a junior engineer spending 3 agonizing days hunting for a bug or writing boilerplate testing code, the AI handles that structural grunt work.
Which frees up the engineer.
Yes. They are now freed up to actually design new features. Because Stripe can launch products faster using the system, they actually need more engineers to build out their expanding ecosystem, not fewer.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most surprising data point in this entire analysis. If you're early in your career and listening to this deep dive, this data is going to completely flip your perspective.
Because the assumption is always that AI is going to eat all the junior level busy work.
Right. People think, well, the AI writes the first draft, so you don't need the junior copywriter. Or the AI writes the basic script, so you don't need the junior developer.
That is definitely the prevailing narrative, that the bottom rung of the corporate ladder is just going to get sawed off.
But according to this massive data set, high-intensity adopters actually experienced a 12% growth in entry-level headcount over a 24-month period.
Wait, 12% growth?
Yes.
So the entry-level jobs are growing faster than the overall company average of 10%.
Exactly. AI is not wiping out the bottom rung. Intensive AI deployment strongly correlates with a surge in junior hiring.
That's incredible.
Because when you build that new factory around the AI, as you put it, you need people to run the new machines.
But this hiring boom doesn't happen overnight, does it? The timeline and the data is fascinating.
Yeah, there's a definite lag.
The employment gains don't happen the month you buy the enterprise software. It actually takes 6 to 12 months post-adoption for that employment growth to even become detectable in the numbers.
Right.
And the growth continues and even accelerates 18 to 24 months out. So there is a massive lag. What is happening during those first 6 to 12 months? Are they just staring at a blinking cursor trying to figure out how to use it?
Well, they are going through the incredibly painful process of organizational learning. Integrating AI is messy.
I can imagine.
It involves a lot of friction. Employees have to learn prompt engineering, how to actually speak to the machine to get a useful output.
Which is a whole skill in itself.
Oh, absolutely. They have to figure out how to evaluate the AI's output because these models hallucinate and make mistakes constantly. They need to establish a rhythm of human-AI collaboration.
It's the struggle of breaking old habits, basically.
Shopify is a perfect case study for this struggle. They started deploying AI in their customer support and merchant tools in early 2023.
Right?
And they didn't see immediate magical results. They went through months of significant, often frustrating experimentation. Managers were constantly tweaking prompt designs, trying to get the AI to stop giving wrong answers.
Oh, I bet that was chaotic.
Yeah, they were building new quality control layers and testing how to pass a conversation from an AI back to a human without infuriating the customer. Measurable productivity improvements like faster response times and better resolution rates only emerged months later.
Wow.
And it was only after they hit that productivity stride that they began expanding their headcount.
So the humans had to learn how to manage the machine and build the guardrails for the machine before it could actually help the company grow.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established that entry-level jobs grow after this painful 6 to 12-month learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to look at where these jobs are going. Is this just tech companies hiring more tech people to manage the tech?
You'd think so, but the functional growth is surprisingly broad. And it extends way beyond the IT department.
Looking at the breakdown for these high-intensity adopting firms, engineering headcount grew by 7%, but sales grew by 10%.
Oh.
Administrative roles grew by 8%. Customer service grew by 6%. Marketing and finance grew, too. The only major category that showed no significant change was operations.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. Why is a company that adopts an AI coding assistant suddenly hiring 10% more salespeople?
Well, this is where we see the concept of an organizational ecosystem in action.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about complementarity across functions.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Sure. If an AI tool helps your developers build a new software product twice as fast, you suddenly have twice as many products to sell.
Ah, I see.
Therefore, you need more salespeople to pitch them, and you need more customer service reps to support the influx of new users. The bottleneck simply shifts from production to distribution.
If production speeds up, distribution has to scale up to match it. That makes perfect sense.
A brilliant example from the research is Zendesk. They integrated AI deeply into their customer service platform. Automated responses, sentiment analysis to detect if a customer is angry, all of that.
Right. And you would assume that meant they could shrink their own customer success teams because the AI is handling the tickets.
Right, but the opposite happened. Their customer success teams actually grew.
Because their roles shifted. Right.
Yes. The AI was handling the routine, simple questions like, where's my order? Or how do I reset my password? That freed up the human representatives to shift to higher value consultation.
Like actually solving deep problems.
Exactly. Instead of resetting passwords, they are managing complex accounts, saving high-value clients who are threatening to churn, and upselling services.
That's a huge shift.
The AI didn't replace them. It elevated their role from routine support to complex relationship management. And as the company's capacity grew, they needed more of these high-level relationship managers.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here and ask for a reality check.
Go for it.
We are talking about Zendesk, Shopify, Stripe. These are massive tech companies. Is this 10% job growth happening everywhere?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, like is the Midwestern logistics company or the regional hospital network seeing this? Or is this just a phenomenon for venture-backed software firms?
The data is very clear on this, and honestly, it validates your skepticism. Currently, this massive employment gain is highly, highly concentrated in one specific area, the information sector.
Okay, so software and media.
Yes, software, media, internet services, and telecommunications. In that specific sector, high-intensity adopters saw a 13% employment gain over 2 years.
13%, wow.
Yeah, but other sectors like healthcare, manufacturing, or retail, they showed much smaller, statistically insignificant effects so far.
So it's mostly a tech bro thing right now.
For now, yeah. And there are structural reasons for that. The information sector has mature, highly developed use cases for AI. Take GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft.
Right, they have GitHub Copilot.
Exactly. They rolled out Copilot, an AI that assists with writing code. As we discussed with Stripe, it didn't reduce the number of engineers they needed. It allowed them to focus on high-level architecture.
Because they already had the foundation built.
Yes. Software companies already have the baseline technical infrastructure to evaluate these tools, integrate them securely into their workflows, and build those complementary systems.
Whereas a regular company doesn't.
Right. A regional hospital or a mid-sized construction firm currently lacks that underlying data infrastructure. Their internal data is likely messy and siloed, so their adoption is slower. And the employment gains aren't showing up in the data yet.
So how does someone actually apply this? If you are listening to this deep dive and you aren't an executive at a venture-backed tech giant in Silicon Valley, how do you use this information in your own career or your own organization?
It's a great question.
Because clearly, just buying a $30 ChatGPT subscription for your team and hoping for the best isn't going to cut it.
No, not at all. The primary takeaway is that organizations and individual workers must build what we call AI literacy.
AI literacy.
Yeah, handing out logins is a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
You need a structured approach to learning and integration. The study highlights Notion, the productivity software company.
I use Notion. It's great.
It is. And when they rolled out AI internally, they didn't just leave employees to figure it out in isolation. They created internal champions within every single department.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. They held regular knowledge-sharing sessions where people could demonstrate how they were using AI to solve specific, tedious problems. They documented proven use cases so others could replicate them.
They build a community around it.
Exactly. They built an entire culture of literacy around the tool. That is how you turn a software subscription into organizational growth.
So if you're an employee, your goal should be to become that internal champion. You want to be the person who suffers through the friction, figures out the use case, and teaches the rest of the team how to redesign their workflow. That makes you indispensable.
Absolutely. But we also have to look at who is actually pulling this off at a macro level. There's a serious caveat in this data regarding economic equity.
The catch.
Yeah, the catch. We have to remember the limitations of this study. It's looking at early cohorts from 2023 to 2025. And the firms that are succeeding, the ones spending $33 a month per employee, overhauling their workflows and growing their workforces, they are heavily selected.
Meaning they already had advantages.
Exactly. They are larger, more technical, and often have deep pockets.
Right. Because they have the cash to sustain a massive investment during that painful 6 to 12-month learning curve when the AI isn't producing a return yet.
Spot on.
A mom-and-pop business with 50 employees probably can't afford to drop $2,000 a month on AI tools, plus the massive hidden costs of retraining their staff and redesigning all their workflows. They can't just wait a year to see if it pays off.
And that is the economic danger we are facing. We are looking at a scenario where smaller firms without deep capital reserves fall permanently behind.
Which is terrifying.
It really is. The highly resourced companies will use AI to scale their distribution, capture more market share, and hire more people, while the firms without the capital to make those complementary investments will stagnate.
So the big get bigger.
Right. It has the potential to dramatically widen the gap between the AI haves and the AI have-nots, purely based on who can afford to survive the implementation lag.
That is a sobering reality to balance out all the optimism. Let's bring this all together for you. The narrative of inevitable immediate job destruction by AI is simply not supported by the hard data.
Not at all.
Intensive AI adoption isn't about replacing human beings to save a quick buck. It is about making deep, complex, complementary investments in workflows, infrastructure, and people.
Well said.
And when companies actually commit to that process, it leads to organizational expansion and job growth, even, and perhaps especially, at the entry level. It takes a lot of time, it takes a significant amount of money, and right now it's mostly happening in the tech sector. But the blueprint for AI-driven growth is clearly there.
The blueprint is there, but I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right now, in this 2023 to 2025 window, we see that AI adoption requires human growth to handle all the complementary tasks. The AI writes the code, humans sell the software.
Right.
The AI handles the basic support tickets, humans handle the complex relationships. But what happens in 5 or 10 years? What happens when AI systems become truly agentic?
Agentic, meaning they can act on their own.
Exactly, meaning they don't just answer questions or generate text when prompted, but they autonomously execute multi-step processes across different software platforms.
Oh, wow.
When the AI can autonomously write the code, launch the marketing campaign, and close the sale without a human pushing the buttons, will this current era of AI-driven employment expansion just be a temporary stepping stone while the models learn our workflows? Or is this a permanent redefinition of how human-machine collaboration works?
Man, that completely changes the gym analogy. Because right now, we are the ones learning to use the gym equipment to get stronger, right? But if the equipment eventually figures out how to lift the weights for us, what does that make us?
That is the exact question we will have to answer in the next decade.
Incredible stuff to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the headlines, keep exploring the realities behind the data, and we'll catch you next time.